Welcome to this summary of William Golding's The Lord of the Flies. In the next few minutes I'll identify the key plot points in the story to help you memorise and recall them for essays, tests and exams. The first thing I want to point out is the book falls into three main sections. Section 1, chapters 1 to 4, I'm calling The Uneasy Piece. Section 2, chapters 5 to 8, I'm calling Ralph Loses Power to Jack. And section 3, chapters 9 to 12, I'm calling Descent into Savagery. Shortly after the boys assemble on the island, Ralph proposes that they elect a leader. Jack immediately puts himself forward as the best person, but the boys elect Ralph, probably because he was the one who'd brought them together by blowing the conch shell, and because he was bigger than most of the other boys. But this creates a problem. Jack is described by Golding as the obvious leader. He's quick thinking and he always has a plan. Ralph, notice, is the opposite. He's kind, easygoing and reactive. And Ralph makes a major mistake when he then gives power over the choir to Jack. The group now effectively has two chiefs, Ralph and Jack. This will cause problems later. At the start of chapter 2, Jack sets a goal, hunt and kill an animal. Ralph reacts and sets a goal to create a fire so that any rescuers can see the smoke. These different goals will cause problems at the end of chapter 4, but for now the boys do build a fire, but in their excitement they set part of the island on fire and at least one boy dies. As chapter 3 starts, Ralph thinks the priority is to keep a fire going and to build huts. But Jack says the priority is to hunt. It's at this point we get a clear idea of how far apart Ralph and Jack actually are. They're described in this chapter as two continents of experience and feeling. They just cannot communicate. In chapter 4, the uneasy peace that has existed between Ralph and Jack begins to break down. Roger is emerging as a sinister figure who gratuitously kicks over the sand castles and throws stones towards the little children. Jack paints his face, and this helps him adopt the persona of a hunter. It will also help release his more vicious instincts. It will give him an identity to hide behind. And at the end of this chapter comes a major turning point. They could have been rescued, but the fire has gone out because the boys who were maintaining it were forced to go hunting with Jack. So when Jack returns with a dead pig, their first successful kill, Ralph is furious. But instead of punishing Jack, Ralph does nothing. In fact, it's Jack who then hits Piggy, breaking one of the lenses in his glasses. The boys then reenact the kill using Morris as the pig and chant, kill the pig, cut her throat, bash her in for the first time. This incantation will return in later chapters. At the beginning of chapter 5, the conch shell is beginning to lose its colour. This represents Ralph's authority waning. The boys are also becoming frightened of a mysterious beast. They think it might come out of the sea. Then a boy says he saw it come out of the forest, but it turns out that the beast from the forest was actually only Simon walking round late at night. This is highly ironic, because Simon is a symbol for the primary Christian virtue, charity, which means a commitment to love others as you love yourself. When Simon tries to suggest the only beast the boys should be frightened of are themselves, they mock him. But as we will find out in chapter 9, he is absolutely correct. At the beginning of chapter 6, an airman is shot down and his dead body gets lodged in the trees at the top of the mountain by the signal fire. Sam and Eric, in the dark, think that this is the beast and they rush back to tell everyone. Needless to say, Jack immediately wants to hunt it down, but Ralph manages to refocus them on relighting the hilltop fire. The boys do go exploring, but don't find the beast, although they do roll rocks down the mountainside, foreshadowing the way Piggy will die in Chapter 11. In Chapter 7, Ralph is homesick for England and civilization, but then has a brief moment where he feels part of the group when they hunt another pig. During this hunt, they stage a second mock attack, this time on Robert, and this time it's more violent than the one on Morris in Chapter 4. But Jack becomes unhappy about Ralph being a hunter and decides to test his courage by suggesting they go and look for the beast. Ralph accepts the challenge and he, Jack and Roger head off to try and find the beast. But by the time they get to see the dead airman, it is so dark that they are convinced it is a real beast. They are petrified and they run back to the beach. In Chapter 8, Ralph reaches a low point. The beast seems to be living near the signal fire, so they can't keep the fire alight and can't be rescued. His plan is in tatters, and this leaves Jack as the boy with the only plan in town, hunting. This weakness on Ralph's part gives Jack an opportunity. He makes a pitch for the leadership, but the boys don't support him, and so he storms off, saying he can catch his own pigs. Anyone who wants to hunt when I do can come too. Now this seems like a victory for Ralph, but they then notice that Morris, Bill and Roger have left to join Jack. Jack also has a plan to deal with the beast. They'll kill a pig and leave part of it as a sacrifice. Perhaps this will protect them. When they do kill a pig, Roger unnecessarily inflicts pain on the animal by driving a sharpened stick deeper and deeper inside it. They then impale the pig's head on a stick as a sacrifice. And shortly after this, the hunters raid Ralph's camp and steal a fire. Now they have what they need to cook the pig, and all Ralph and Piggy can hope for is that they are soon rescued. Simon, who'd been hiding near to where the pig was killed, is having a fit and is hallucinating. He thinks the pig's head, which is covered in flies, is talking to him and saying that the beast cannot be killed. And the reason it can't be killed is that the beast, the capacity to commit evil, is within all of us. Incidentally, the term the Lord of the Flies is another name for the devil. At the beginning of Chapter 9, the tension between Ralph and Jack is mirrored by the weather, with a huge storm brewing. Simon's fit has now passed, and when he walks towards the top of the mountain, he realises that the dead airman is what Ralph, Jack and Roger mistakenly thought was the beast. He now rushes back to tell them the news. Back on the beach, all of the boys, except Ralph and Piggy, have gone now to join Jack's party and are cooking the pig. And when Ralph and Piggy go to take a look, they see Jack sitting in the middle of the group with his face painted and garlanded with flowers. This image suggests primitive savagery. Jack once again challenges Ralph, asking who is going to join my tribe. And this time, the boys join Jack, and he is officially the chief. And when the huge storm breaks, Jack distracts the boys by getting them to chant, "Kill the beast, cut his throat, spill his blood." Sadly, this is the very moment that Simon crawls out of the forest, and the boys, now scared and frenzied, kill him. The airman's body floats down over the beach, scaring the boys, while Simon's body is washed out to sea. But we know that the real beast is not hiding on the island, it's within the children, as Simon predicted. In Chapter 10, only Ralph, Piggy, Sam and Eric are left of the original group. They try to make excuses for their part in murdering Simon, but they know that they're just as guilty as everyone else. Jack, as leader, now keeps order through random acts of violence, such as beating Wilfred for no apparent reason. We hear that Roger notices this and reflects on what this might allow him to do. It's referred to as using irresponsible authority. And when Jack realises that he's allowed the campfire to go out, his first thought is violence. They will raid Ralph's little camp They'll steal Piggy's glasses, and at the end of the chapter, they do exactly that. So Jack now has the means to cook what he kills, and there is no signal fire for them to be rescued. Chapter 11, Ralph still can't quite understand what's happened. He says they would have given Jack fire had he asked. It is clear Ralph still doesn't understand that people like Jack do not want to cooperate. They want to dominate. Ralph finally confronts Jack, but it's too late. Roger pushes a boulder down towards Ralph and Piggy, the voice of intelligence and reason, is killed. The conch, a symbol of authority and cooperation, is destroyed because reason and cooperation have no place in a world ruled by force and savagery. In the final chapter, Ralph runs and hides and sees the grinning skull of the Lord of the Flies. It is a symbol of chaos, the opposite of the conch, which was a symbol of order. When Ralph sneaks near to Jack's camp, Sam and Eric tell him that Roger has sharpened a stick at both ends. This means they intend to kill Ralph and put his head on the stick. The following morning, Jack's tribe hunt Ralph. They set fire to the vegetation to smoke him out, and Ralph is forced back to the beach and almost certain death. The only thing that saves him is the arrival of the Royal Navy. Jack, ironically, has attracted a passing naval vessel by creating a huge fire on the island. Ralph is saved, but he has changed. He's gone from an innocent 12-year-old boy to someone who now knows the truth about humanity, that evil lurks within everyone, and civilization is the only means by which that evil is controlled. So I hope that this video will help you to memorise the key events in this book, and thank you for listening to Dr. Aidan's Guide to Literature. Give a thumbs up if you've enjoyed this video, and subscribe now so that you don't miss any of my future posts.